Welcome to the Smart College Buyer Podcast. My mission is to help high school families pay for college without taking on a truckload of debt. Each episode, I'll share insights into college admissions, financial aid, payment strategies, and more, often with expert guests. I'm Jack Wang, your host. I started helping families after struggling to navigate the process myself for my sons. If I needed help, I knew others did too. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of the Smart College Buyer Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jack Wang. And this is a really special episode. So we're recording live at FinCon, which is the Financial Content Creators Conference. I'm actually in Orlando, Florida. And I gotta just say, I'm so excited for my next guest, okay? So the words awesome and dynamo really just don't cut it. Interesting story. So we actually met at this conference last year when it was held in Austin, Texas. We actually met in the hotel elevator, and I had to have her on because of what she does. Right. So let me get into it. So this is my special friend, awesome guest, Brittany Greene. And so let me just kind of read here. I'm going to put my glasses on. So Brittany is the CEO and founder of Crown Financial, where it's her mission to help students, college students, increase their credit scores anywhere from 50 to 300 points without having to use a credit repair company. Brittany has been seen on Yahoo Finance, Yahoo News, NBC, Fox, BuzzFeed, 103, The Beat Miami, and HBCU Wall Street. And so, Brittany, I'm so excited we're doing this. I'm having such a blast at the conference. I'm so glad you're here doing this with me. So let's kind of get into it. So tell me a little bit, how did you even get into this business with Crown Financial? Because I know last year when we met, I think you had just moved from, Atlanta to Dallas, right?
Yeah, I was coming from Tampa. And went to Dallas. I mean, Atlanta's not so bad. I would actually travel to Atlanta just to eat.
Okay.
I would go just to eat. But it's funny because my major in college was psychology. So my major was psychology. Then I went on and got a master's in project management. So I had no financial background at all. But I was going for a job, and I was denied for that job because of my credit, which made me say, okay, well, being the psychology person, how do I research? How do I get it to where it needs to be? And so I started doing research, and then I realized so much of America does not understand the basics of finance, especially credit. And that was such a big determinant for everything. So I started with a company at the time, and then I branched off, developed my own, and became an educational source for college students because that's where my stuck place was. That's where they got me. They were like, hey, in exchange for you signing up for this credit card, you want some pizza? And I'm like, yes, of course. Yeah. Right? And that was where my stuck place began because in high school, they didn't really teach us about finance, but we also didn't have people down our throat kind of shoving products to us, right? But in college, that's where they were shoving all of the products. Oh, get this account, do this, do that. And we didn't have any knowledge. We were just like, okay, let's just sign up for everything. It can't hurt, and it ended up hurting in the long run. So I ended up starting Crown Financials and starting to educate on credit, financial literacy, and now I travel to different colleges and teach about this amazing subject of credit, personal credit.
Well, it's funny you say that because I remember back when I first got to college, right? Back then was sign up for a credit card, get a t-shirt, right? That's I think in college, that's how I built half my wardrobe, right? With different t-shirts by signing for different credit cards. I think this is such fascinating, such important work. So what colleges have you spoken at over the last couple of years?
It's funny. I started in 2019, University of South Florida, my alma mater, St. Leo University. I got a chance to speak at the University of New Orleans, so that was cool. UCF, I did some work out there. FIU, Hawaii Pacific University. So those are some of the amazing universities I got a chance to speak at.
That's awesome. I mean, all great schools. In fact, actually, I just took a tour of UCF. We'll have a whole nother episode on that, which is awesome. So it's interesting because these days in the news, we hear a lot about student debt, student loans, right?
Yes.
But oftentimes, at least in my experience, they tend to think about it after college is done, right? Because while you're in college, you're sort of, taking your classes, enjoying your time there and stuff. But you speak to current college students while they're in college about credit. So what are some of the things that they're thinking about? What are some of the common issues that you run into that from these students who are still in college?
Yeah, one of the major issues is mindset, because a lot of them are in that space where they're trying to find their own personality, they're finding their own groove, their own independence, because this is their probably first time without mom and dad. So they're trying to figure it out on their own. And a lot of them will have those same mindset beliefs that their parents may have had about money. And some of the common things that I hear is, oh, money is hard to come by. Money doesn't grow on trees. We have to pinch pennies. So hearing things like that, or hearing that, oh, they're a broke college student. Like my brand, we literally say, we ain't broke. We pre-rich, right? We got
pre-rich. I love
we
that.
are pre-rich, right? Because that's the time to soak up that knowledge. That's the time to get the education that you need in order to get where you got to go. But it starts here with the mind. It starts with what you believe, because whatever you believe is the behaviors that you actually, exude. So that's the major thing that I see first and foremost is transitioning that belief system from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Yeah, that's awesome, because you're right. I mean, so much of money is mindset, right?
Yeah.
And kind of the proof is that at this conference, right? So many people kind of talk about those issues as it relates to personal finance, budgeting, credit,
Yeah.
whatever. So what are some tips that you share with current students or even recent grads that they can use to improve their credit and their overall finances?
Yeah. So the first thing is, like we were just saying, and it sounds redundant, but it's so true, because it doesn't matter what strategy I'll teach a student. If your mind is not equipped to say that you can do it, you won't even do the strategies. You'll think, oh, there's no way that I can make this happen. There's no way I can afford this. So the first thing is mindset. What are you listening to every day? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you building affirmations into your normal belief system? Are you doing those things? Because then as we apply the strategies of what I'm about to talk about in a second, it helps it remain when things get tough, right? When the refund check doesn't come on time and you're like, well, how do I invest, or how do I make things work, right? Being able to stay resilient through those things. So that's number one, is that first tip is build your mindset up every single day, because you're meant to, once you build up your mindset, it's an armor when things get tough, right? So that's number one. Number two is start where you can. There's so many resources out now like Stellar 5 that gives you access to building credit by just paying your bills on time. And a lot of college students do have at least one bill that they're paying, whether it's Netflix, whether it's, Spotify, whatever it is, it's a cheap bill that they're paying. But by them doing that, paying that bill on time, that's something that they can use to build their credit with a company like Stellar 5 or a company like Self-Incorporated, where you can pay a minimum of $25 a month and build your credit up. And it acts as a savings account. So start where you can. Assess your budget and of where you can start. And then lastly, number three is learn about your own credit report. Learn about it. There's going to be Credit Karma to look at your Vantage scores for free, Experian.com to look at your FICO scores for free. These are resources, and they have like so many educational tools in there to where you can learn about your own score and what you need to make it pop.
So it's amazing, because those are great tips, right? And to a certain extent, you're right. There's so many resources out there. And again, we're at a conference that sort of proves that point. But I think sometimes people get overwhelmed, right? There's too many choices, so they don't know where to start. So they end up taking no action at all, right? And so what would you say for, I mean, again, this might sound a little redundant, but for the people who are like just so overwhelmed because they have a lot of debt already, or they just don't know where to start or whatever, what would be a good sort of beginner step for that person who's just kind of overwhelmed with it all?
Right. I would say come to my course. I know that sounds like, oh, well, you're just promoting yourself. No, it's beyond that, because it's a way to organize the education, organize what you need in a simple of steps, right? Because everyone's credit file looks different. My credit file is going to look different from yours, right? So what I'm going to need is going to be a little bit different than what you need, right? So what I have done in my A to Z Credit Masterclass, or even in my Project Pre-Rich course that I teach at different universities, is organize it in a specific framework where if I tell you, hey, go to these two sites, log in, what do you see? According to this sheet that I give you, what did you see? Does your colors look red, green, or yellow, or gray? If so, these are going to be the steps that you follow under each color. That helps you keep it in an organized form. That way you know, okay, I need to add a credit card, or no, I don't need to add a credit card. I need to pay down my utilization. So different things like that is where it'll help organize it all together. So finding a good, reputable course, I can't speak for anybody else's, right? I can only speak for myself. Go find a good reputable course that educates you on your credit from top to bottom. This way you know what you need specifically at any time. That's the easiest way to help you get going, is to first look at your own file, assess it, and I help people assess that.
And of course, we will have Brittany's contact information in the show notes. But but what you say though is so right in that everybody is different, right?
Yeah.
So some people might need to just lower utilization. Other people might have the issue with like bills and stuff. And it's funny you say Netflix because when Netflix first launched, of course, you have like one poor soul sign up and they share the password with like everybody, right? But of course, I think they put a stop to that or a limit on that now. But when people take these steps, I know sometimes there's a lot of information out there like, oh yeah, you can rebuild your credit really fast. Other people sometimes say it takes a while to do it, right? So what's the truth behind that? Like, can people see results right away?
Yes, you can definitely see results
or
right
like
away.
months.
Yeah, you can see results as quickly as 30 to 45 days. However, it's only if you're implementing the steps. So if I tell you, hey, pay your utilization down, but you don't pay it down, of course you're not going to see any. You're not going to see any difference, right? Or if I tell you to add this account and you don't add this account, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. Or your score is going to either remain stagnant or start going down, just kind of depending on what's going on with your file. So it can happen quickly as long as you're taking action. But if you're not taking action on any of the steps, because like literally when I say A to Z credit, literally from top to bottom, teaching you, okay, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. If you do those things, you'll see results. But if you don't do those things, you won't see results. And I even have that in the disclaimer. You can see results quick, but I don't go for those companies that say, oh, get 300 points in 90 days. That's a guarantee that you can't uphold because the credit file is all about balance. Like you see the balance scales, everything has to be in a perfect balance. And it sometimes takes a little bit of while for that. So some folks, it may see massive results within the first 60 days. Others, it may be 6 months based on the steps that they have to take to restore their credit.
And it's different. And I kind of equate it sometimes to like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like
it is a
muscle. or like a
Yes.
weight loss thing. Like you can do it if you do it, right?
Yes.
But you can't just like sit there and say, oh, if I just sit here and just wish I'm going to drop like 50 pounds, like
It's
that
not
doesn't
gonna
happen,
work.
right? Or raise my credit score by 50 points, right? It's just not going to work. So it's really interesting because again, we do hear a lot in the news about student loans, right? But in terms of credit issues, what do you tend to see working with college students? Is the concern really around student loans, or is it credit card debt, or is it something else that you tend to see the most?
Yeah, it's actually funny because I was looking at a statistic yesterday and it was talking about how college students in general have the most credit card debt. Because again, that's where they get you, right?
I believe it. Again, that's how I built my college wardrobe, was all these T-shirts, right, for signing for all the credit cards. Yeah, I get it.
So that's where they get you. So they actually have the most credit card debt. Yes, student loans are a concern, but a lot of students are kind of like, they say what they want about student loans, whether they're going to pay them, whether they don't, whatever they're, but the main concern has been budgeting, saving, how can I invest, and how can I leverage my credit score to be able to do those things.
Now, let me kind of get a little bit more detail for a moment. This is my guess, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but my guess is probably the college students that tend to want your services or want this education probably are older, probably because they're not living in the dorm anymore, so they're in the apartments, they have to now buy their own food, and transportation becomes an issue. Do you find that it tends to be some of these older students? Because I would imagine,
Funny enough, I get a lot of freshmen.
Really?
I get a lot of freshmen, sophomores, folks who are like, hey, I'm new into college, but they want, because now they're exposed to TikTok, they're exposed to Instagram, where they have all of these these resources that's teaching them about financial literacy, or they're being exposed to it more. So they're like, well, I want to learn. I want to be wealthy before I get out of college. They're already trying to start their side hustles and get business credit while they're in college. I meet so many entrepreneurs that are in college right now. You would be surprised. It's not all the seniors. A lot of them are freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
Wow. Yeah. And I love the whole thing. What you say is like, we're not broke, we're pre-rich.
Yes.
Right? That's great. Like just mindset right there, right? Pre-rich. So what is a typical sort of result that you tend to see with college students you work with?
So I actually had 2 college students who just graduated, and I also have another one that's in nursing, a nursing program, and all 3 of them have over a 700 credit score.
Wow.
Because of the behaviors that they did. They took the knowledge, they went in the course, they took action, and they got the results. Or we went to a workshop and they got the results. So I'm seeing that as a trend right now. As far as them getting over a 700 before they graduate, again, everyone's results vary. But even being able to say, hey, I know how to spend my credit cards a little bit better than I did before. Oh, I can use it for needs versus wants now. So it really is either the education piece, but these three results that came like crazy. One came the day before my birthday. She's like, I got a 769. I was like,
Wow.
yes. So that was pretty cool to see that and to see
Right.
the results continue.
Right. And, and for a lot of adults, right, who are out of college, right, they'd be pretty envious of a
Yes.
769, right?
Graduating from college.
That's just phenomenal.
Yes.
So wow, that's great. But what's something? So you're talking about this, and this makes total sense to me, and I think this is amazing information. But what are some things that students tend to maybe overlook or forget about when they're thinking about their financial future and credit and things like that?
That's a good question. Typically, it's their own budget, right? Because a lot of us don't even track what we have coming in. So we're just like, oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to buy this. But if you really organized your money and knew where it was coming in, knew where it was going, it would be easy to say, oh, I can invest into this $25 a month program because it's putting money away for me as I'm building my credit at the same time.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where budget tends to be overlooked because they're just like, they had that mindset of, oh, I'm broke. No, you're not broke. Just rearrange your thinking.
Yep.
Where do I have the funds? If you start asking the right questions, right? I think that's a big thing is asking the right questions. Where do I have money in my budget to allocate toward building my credit?
Yep.
Where do I have money in my budget to start building wealth, right? How can I invest like $10 a month toward real estate? Different things like that. So budgeting, the mindset, and not asking the right questions as to how they can do things within their situation of being the pre-rich college student.
It's just amazing, right? And I love talking to you, and because so many people for a lot of different things, but especially this, you hear so often like, I wish I met you like 3 years earlier. I wish I knew this when I was young. Like whatever, right? Because it's such important knowledge.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a question now.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to share anything personal or directly, but when you started going through this process yourself, right? And you kind of learned it, like what drove you is because of that job thing. So how many points did your score increase, right? I won't ask you what your credit score is, but how many points did your score increase?
So it's a fluctuation. I will say it's a fluctuation because even though I started in 2017, I lost my job in 2018. So I actually hit over 700 once I got squared away. But when I lost my job in 2018, my score plummeted. Mm-hmm. And it actually made me feel a little discouraged about business because it was like, well, how can I teach about credit? And my credit is kind of jacked up at this moment.
Yep.
But I realized just because I was going through life, it didn't mean that I didn't have the tools.
Right.
So during that time, once I got my credit score up to over a 700 again, because it's not hard to get your credit score up. It's really not. It just literally takes you knowing what areas do I need to focus on? That's really all it breaks down to. And then doing the behaviors and being consistent, right? So it's not hard to get over a 700 credit score. But once I lost my job, my score plummeted back down to the 4s.
Wow.
Down to the 4s. But I noticed, I said, hey, but I have the knowledge to get it right back up. Right. And from there, I've been able to be transparent about my story to say, hey, okay, here's where I was, here's where I'm going. And then now what I'll say, like, as I'm starting to implement like velocity banking, which is a powerful tool. I'm not sure if you know Denzel.
Yep. Of course. Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
Starting to try to implement some of his velocity banking tips. Velocity banking fluctuates your scores, right? So knowing that certain tools that you use to leverage your credit will fluctuate your score. So what I will say is it is a muscle, right?
Yep.
You have to keep exercising it, keep being consistent, because even your score may be a 700 today, but next week it can drop depending on what happens in life. So it's one of those games where I'll say it's a kind of a fluctuation. So from when I first started, hit over a 700, dropped down to the 4s, got it back up, but now I'm kind of doing a little bit of velocity banking, so it's kind of fluctuating in between that 6 and 7.
Okay. But I mean, because people lose jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff happens,
Yes.
right? Out of your control. But to have, it's one thing to go from 700 to 400 because stuff happens always, right? But then just to have the knowledge to be able to bring it back, right?
Quickly.
Because that's the issue with a lot of people. It's like, hey, they lost their job, their score plummeted, but they don't have the knowledge to bring it back
up.
Right. That's just amazing.
And even in business fluctuates, right? So if you're leveraging, and this is something I tell folks, don't leverage your personal credit for building a business. Don't do it. I made that mistake and that hurt me as well, right? But I can be transparent about that as well. That hurts your score. But again, having that knowledge gets you right back to where you need to be.
Right.
Quickly.
Right. So let me ask you, so what are some schools that you're going to be speaking at coming up?
Ooh,
or can you share, or is that like private?
I can't share everything just yet.
Okay.
Because we're still under contract.
All right.
But I'll just say it's getting good. It's going to get good. Even outside of the schools, even the resources that we're bringing on for students to be able to, oh my goodness. I think, I forgot about this. It was a New York event that you got me, that you recommended me for with Tam Brianna. Oh my gosh, that was freaking phenomenal. They were a recent one that I just that I worked with. They were high school students. I can't believe I forgot to mention them. City Parks. But so I do have some amazing resources that are coming up. That we're partnering with. So all of these things are kind of top secret right now. But once the contracts are signed and the ink is dry, we'll be posting about where we're going because we got a good lineup coming for the rest of the year.
And shout out to City Parks Foundation. So I've done some work with them in the past. They're an amazing organization. They help us high school students and younger in like New York City, right around New York City. So amazing work that they do to help those students. So
yes.
I'm glad connected because I knew you'd be perfect for them.
Oh,
because
what
you talk about is like they need to know.
Do you
this,
know we
right?
came back 2 weeks? We had to do 2 weeks. It was typically 1 week per person.
Right.
We ended up doing 2 weeks. Hassan ended up doing the financial literacy portion with me.
Awesome.
It was cool, so thank you for that.
I'll have to talk to Tammy and follow up with her on that. No, that's fantastic. I'm glad you connected. So as we kind of wrap up here today, so number one, again, thank you so much, right? It's amazing. Again, I'm so glad that we actually took the elevator ride together last year, right?
Which was
just so coincidental. But any final tips you can share with our audience, for, whether it's parents trying to help their college students or parents trying to help their high school students or to the students themselves.
Yeah, I will say this and I'll leave you on this and I'm probably beating everybody over the head when it comes to this, but please, the best investment that you can make is in yourself. Personally develop yourself so that you can recognize opportunities, so that you can take advantage and you don't fumble the bag on the opportunities that you have coming up. You want to be able to take full advantage, be your best self. So continue to build your mindset every single day so that as these strategies start to come in, you can find the opportunity even when you feel like there's no way, right? When money doesn't seem to be existence, when the opportunities or the people that you need to meet seem to be non-existent, you fine-tuning your mind into that frequency of success will align you with the right people that you need at any time.
Yeah, that's a great tip, right? It's that mindset, being saying to yourself that you can do it versus that limiting that, I can't. Amazing. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of Smart College Buyer Podcast. I should probably know the name of my own show, but and many thanks to the wonderful, the amazing, the dynamo Brittany Greene of Crown Financial. Keep an eye out for her at a college near you and her great information. Again, I will have her contact information in the show notes. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for listening to the Smart College Buyer Podcast. I hope you found the information useful for your family. Follow me on LinkedIn for more episodes, videos, and tips. The link is in the show notes. Remember, you can spend time now to plan and strategize, or you can spend more money later. Success in college admissions and financial aid isn't about luck. It's about being intentional. I'm here to help you every step of the way.